This is the first week of 2025, and this video is the ranking of everything that I consumed, like watched, read, played, and the other kind of things, however else you consume media, eat, I guess. You can eat media. It's weird calling it content because, like, that's like the trendy word, but it is books, video games, movies, TV shows, uh, music albums, and other content creators that I spent a significant amount of time consuming, I guess, for lack of a better term, this year. And we're going to include categories starting from the bottom. Did not finish, as in, I just didn't finish them, so I can't really have an opinion on them yet, though they'll probably end up on this list next year for 2025 doing this. Uh, sec- Second to last is not for me. I really just didn't consume anything I very much hated. A lot of it is just, it wasn't for me, or I wasn't in the right mood, or like I'm just better at like gauging when I see a commercial or a trailer or something, and I'm like, I'm not gonna like that, and then I just simply do not. This is fine. It's fine. Like, I have no strong feelings one way or the other. Really, I'm like, okay, I see the vision, and I just don't care. This is good. This is good is for things that are like technically good, like not like technically, like technically, but like in terms of like proficiency and telling the story and what they want to do, but don't really resonate with me one way or the other. I love this is kind of the opposite of that, where I just love it, like it's very personal to me, or I love it for some personal way, and doesn't really like, it doesn't necessarily have to be good or like technically good, like or proficient. I could just like it for what it is. uh but then the top category, even though it's the top, it's not like the best. Change my brain is a specific category for things that are like, oh man, I never thought about it like that. I never thought like I never realized that you could tell a story like that, or oh, I didn't realize that like a character could do this choice or that kind of thing. Like, it's not the best, but it's like a, oh, you reach out and like, wait, you can do that, or like, oh, this is new. Like, I do a YouTube channel. I'm 31, and so like I've seen a lot of things at this point, and so to be caught off guard, to be surprised, is very rare these days. So that's what the change my brain is for. So let's start. The Charlotte Isles is not a detective. I did the audiobook for this. This was a book that, if I remember right, was uh, in the same vein as like Nancy Drew or those kind of kid detectives that, they have their stories. Hardy Boys, that was the other one I was trying to think of. Like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, that what happens when they grow up? What happens when, you know, they suddenly have to, you know, sign up for a 401k and deal with health insurance and all that when they have like the um glory days behind them of like being 12 and solving the theft of the Mona Lisa, which, like I said, at my age, like I'm kind of over stories of like, oh man, what could have been, what used to be. But I'm gonna put this as it was fine. Like, I liked it. It was cute. It was funny. The author's about my age, so like there were some pop culture references that I thought were pretty funny. Speaking of, oh yeah, so that was a book. I did the audiobook. Let's do My Adventure with Superman season 2. I really did love it. I'm not like, that's easy for me to say. So, Adventures with Superman is my favorite superhero, and so I've seen many different, adaptations of him, and I welcome a lot of different, interpretations of like what you can do with that character, and I even like some of the ideas that like Zack Snyder did with them. I'm really excited to see what James Gunn does with it, but with My Adventures with Superman does that I really love is that I can tell that the creators are my age and they love anime, they love 2010 tumblers, and there's just so much about this show that is very unique. Like I said, like I almost want to put it in change my brain because the variety of different characters they write, it's not diverse in a way of like race and ethnicity or religion, but like it is diverse in like what is found attractive, like what people pay attention to. It really does adopt like old characters into a new modern age, like making Lex Luthor a Silicon Valley tech bro. Like, yeah, of course that's what he would be in a modern day. But yeah, My Adventures with Superman. I love this. Another thing that this show is really funny is that it taught like mainstream straight people the word twink, but they use it wrong. So yeah, it's funny just for that, if nothing else. It's good from the bottom. Pokemon TCG Pocket. This is good. Pokemon TCG Pocket is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links of the Pokemon game in that it's an app and it does like a streamlined version of the Pokemon card game, which I don't know anyone growing up who actually played the card game like for as it was meant to be played and didn't do like as a collector. Like I think I could rent a car before I met a real life flesh and blood person who like actually played the game, and even then they did like tournaments and stuff. So like this gave me a good appreciation for like, oh, like this is what I have been doing. This is what uh I'm supposed to be doing, really. Let's see. Let's grab onto the Barbie movie. I watched this with my girlfriend again over the summer. I saw it uh, when it originally premiered in the Barbenheimer thing. I have a shirt with from Super Yaki that's like, "Do you guys ever think about dying?" But it's like black, and then the font is pink. And I wore it to the Barbenheimer thing. I did like the double feature with some friends, and I got a lot of compliments on it. I still get compliments on it to this day. This is fine. Like Margot Robbie's attractive. I'm gonna put this above Charlotte Isles actually because I do really love the interesting thing of making Ryan Gosling as an incel, but that's kind of underscored. Like it's fine. Like it's meant to be a summer blockbuster. It's literally like it's like it shouldn't be compared to Little Women, which is another thing that like Greta Gerwig has done. It should be compared to Transformers, but you know, it's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's good. If if I wasn't a hypocrite, or if I'd seen it for the first time this year, it might be. And this is good because it's efficient in what it's meant to be doing. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. The first not for me is Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. This is a productivity book just on like how to be quote unquote productive in like a modern age while like still, feeling good and like having it. The idea is that you're supposed to have like fun along the way, and that you're supposed to like it's not supposed to feel bad to do things to be quote unquote productive. And the meme in corporate America, this meeting could have been an email. This book could have been just like a YouTube playlist, and I'm pretty sure it is. I used to be really big into like productivity YouTube, like watching like how to optimize your time and like time management stuff. And I still to an extent do watch it. Like I mean, and I still read it. Obviously I read this book because there's a couple other ones here because I feel like it's good to just keep it in the mindset to like keep the perspective fresh. But man, like this one was so boring. Like I can't remember if this one put me in a reading slump. I'm glad I only got it from the library because like I didn't really get anything new from it. Not that I didn't get from his YouTube videos that I used to watch way back in the day. And no disrespect to him, it's just, most YouTubers don't make good books. Like unless it's a memoir. Like I don't Like if Jenna Marbles ever made a book, then I would probably read it. But yeah, it's been staring at me. The Surviving Sky by Critico Rao, which is such an interesting, even just the idea. If you like hard sci-fi, you will love this. Where it it is high concept right from the beginning. So the idea of this is um there are these people who have powers and they are called architects, and they can manipulate the earth. They have basically like poison ivy plant powers. They can make plants grow, they can make plants manipulate around them. They use them to create stairs, they use them to like open and close doors at their will. And then there are people who don't have power. There's like regular people. And the society they have is basically that people with these powers, the architects, are meant to protect the people. They are meant to protect this floating Howl's Moving Castle society that they have created, which you kind of can't see with the book right here. But this one changed my brain in so many ways, because I always wondered when you create a story, it and to create an interesting story, typically for me, I've noticed that a theme is that the villains are either the church or capitalism, and this one does not have that. The enemy here is establishments and leaders and just the status quo, which is very interesting because like there's no mention of like capitalism or religion, but there is still bad guys. There's the close really, I think the only example of solar punk that I've ever seen, and I'll put a link in the description for what solar punk is. But like even though you solve problems like racism, you solve problems like world hunger and all these other things, there will still be problems. And also with the thing of like superpower, like I grew up with like Star Trek, and like it started with like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and then that led me to watch the series. But like the even idea, like the the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And the Surviving Sky takes that idea, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and says, hey, you realize that there's a direct line of thinking from that to slavery. And when I read that, I was like, wait, what? And I like reread it again and again, and I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, very clearly there's a very obvious distinction that like if you follow that line of thinking to its logical end, you end up there. And that was great. Like it gets very mystical, especially near the end. And there are problems. They do the typical like sci-fi world building thing of like character A, you know you can't do that because XYZ. And then character A is like, I know I can't do that, character B, but what about ABC? And then character A is like, no one has done that. And then they just lore dump a lot. Like the way they talk is just like very unnatural to each other. Um, and it's for the purpose of world building. It's for the purpose of like you, the reader, to like learn these rules. But it does take me out of it sometimes. Also, the amount of times I've read the word senior architect, if I took a shot every time that happened, I would be dead fully. But with all these flaws, I just love this so much. It really changed my perspective on like what sci-fi could be, and what like a story without, when all these other problems are solved, what is still left. Let's see. Now an example of like productivity books that I do like, honestly, I'll put it here, change my brain. Time Management for Mortals. Really, this is just an idea of like, wait, that's not the full thing. 4,000 weeks, Time Management for Mortals. Yeah, so this is the thing of the idea is basically you have 4,000 weeks in your human life. And the book kind of goes through this explanation of like who cares about time management, basically. Like it kind of just goes through like there's a book somewhere that's like why you should quit smoking, and it like goes through and debunks all these excuses that people have for why they can't quit smoking. This book kind of goes through every excuse about like time management, both good and bad. How like, oh, I don't have time for this because XYZ, and like actually that's debunked. And then like, oh, like this thing will be the thing that fixes your time management, and then he goes, actually ABC, no, that's not true. And basically it really helped me come to terms with like the thing of, I'm never gonna have an inbox zero. I'm always gonna have a an inbox that's filled with something, and that's fine. I'm always going to have a list of things that I want to do. I'm always going to have a bucket list, a new list of projects, and really help me come to peace with that. That said, though, I I found out that this guy's kind of like one of those gurus that he um criticizes. Actually, I think the word guru is like not appropriate to say, I think, but whatever. I'll deal with that next year. Um, but yeah, like I found out he has like a whole link of like meditation for mortals and this, that, and I'm like, oh, that kind of ruined the rose colored glasses for a little bit, but and well, I didn't learn that until way later. So at the time that I read it, it really helped me come to peace with the idea that I'm always going to have things to do. Beautyland. This is good. This is a book about a girl growing up during like the 80s, 90s, and up until the modern day. And her like little quirk is that like she believes herself to be an alien and is here to like study the human experience, and the impetus of this is that like she has like a fax machine and she'll send this fax, and then the fax machine will like respond to her saying like, oh yes, you are an alien, here are your instructions. And so a lot of this is kind of like a lot and so a lot of this book is her experiences, like writing down her experiences of like, people will say, how are you, without actually wanting to know how you actually are. And so those kind of things, it's very much autistic coded, and I really did love it for a while. I also really like that like there's a line in there. This is like, rich people will tell you all the things they did not grow up with, but humans who were poor will tell you all the things they did grow up with. And I thought that was like a nice, interesting little insight. The book is full of things like that. I think I also love that spoiler, I guess, it never tells you if she actually is an alien. So yeah, it kind of leaves that up open to interpretation, which I really like. And it's also like a good little like memoir. I think actually now I'm thinking about it, yeah, I guess it would be contemporary. But yeah. Yeah, it's good. Beautyland. It's a book. Did I like it better than, yeah, I played Pokemon more probably, so I think I'll put that below Pokemon. Next up is Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. I love this, honestly. As somebody with an office job that like feels that a lot of the time my job is doing nothing, this book really just like goes through and gives really a word and like a sentence and like a lot of different things for how I feel working in a job. Like how so many different jobs are just like really dumb. And I'm not worried about AI at all because people think that like, oh, these dumb jobs are the ones that AI will replace. No, they won't, because a manager can't yell at an AI. A manager can't make an AI feel bad about itself so that it can have a power trip. It's if you've seen Office Space, it really just like takes the idea of office space jobs and just like explores them all. So it also just made me mad, like of like so much of human progress is just inhibited because some people want to feel powerful, some people want to cosplay a dictator. And so yeah, I love it so much. There's so much to learn, but for me, somebody like me who has been thinking about it and has like seen it, it really just puts words into what I've been feeling for such a long time. The Acolyte. Oh, the show. This is fine. I'll put it above Barbie actually. The Acolyte, it is 150 years before the Star Wars prequels, and this is a thing of I could tell that the creator is like a fan of Star Wars. I saw interviews with her and she just like has so much fun, especially finding out that like Yord, the character, is like her OC. Like it was like a character she played in like Star Wars TTRPG. It has so much had so much potential, but like so many good ideas. I think that's why I'm putting it at like this is fine. I don't dislike it for all the reasons that bigots do. Like it if you don't if you say you're a Star Wars fan and you don't if you say you're a Star Wars fan and you didn't find anything you liked in here, you're not a Star Wars fan, which is fine. But like there was so much cool stuff. Like there were so many moments in the show, like especially like the fight choreography that made me as hype as when Captain America grabbed the hammer for the first time. And there's so many cool moments of that. There's so many cool moments of like, oh wait, that's deep lore. They cited the deep lore. But it just felt a little flat. The pacing was weird, but the pacing is also part of like the 8 episode problem. The fact that it was only 8 episodes is like insane to me because that this could have been a whole movie. Like the runtime I think does equate to a movie, and I this also I almost for this thought almost put me on change my brain. This one changed my brain in the fact of like I want 22 episode seasons again. I want more. I don't want just like mini series. That said though, it did get canceled, but I think it ended at a good spot. I don't like for what the story is, it does feel like an abridged version of a bigger story. I kind of like where it ended. I kind of wish it had just I wish we had gotten a better version of this story, but then that's it. Like I still only want one season of this, but you know the fight choreography is awesome. The acting from the guy from Squid Games is great. Trinity from the Matrix with a lightsaber is awesome. Yeah, it's cool. The Secret Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab is a book that is interesting in the premise of a Faustian bargain from a female perspective. So this woman in 1700 France is off to be wed, but she doesn't want to get married at the age of 23. She still wants to explore the world and be free. And so she makes a deal with the devil to like be immortal. But the catch is that as soon as she leaves somebody's line of sight, then they cannot remember her. And a lot of the criticisms I've seen with this book are that she is over 300 years old, but she is still very immature, quote unquote. Like she is not an interesting person, which I think is a feature, not a bug. I personally like the idea that, yeah, an ordinary person like you or I watching this, if we were granted an immortal life, like doesn't necessarily mean we would go become doctors or we would become lawyers. Like, no, like more than likely we would be like very ordinary mundane people. Like I remember I worked with a guy who was like alive and an adult during like the civil rights movement, and like somebody else from work asked him like, oh, what did you do during like the civil rights protests? And he's like, I went to work and then I went home and I played basketball. like yeah, like which I get that like wouldn't be an interesting story for that, but I don't know. I think it's an interesting perspective of it. The pacing of it is a little weird, and like the culmination of like this being the story, I thought was like without really spoiling anything, I get that that's the point. I get the vision. I just didn't like the vision of like how it ends. Not in a cliffhanger, but like for lack of a better term, a little bit of a cliffhanger. I hope it does not get a sequel though, because otherwise that kind of ruins the point of the book. But this was good. Oh, another thing is that I saw V.E. Schwab at Comic Con, and she said that she loves Final Fantasy VII, and the love interest in this is very much Cloud Strife coded, so I really do love that. So I'm gonna put that above Beautyland just for that. Which I don't know. Now that I mentioned that, let's talk about this. All right, Final Fantasy VII, the original. I played this on the Switch, which, um, very portable. Out in the bar, I became a bar person who, those people that like show up to a bar and just read. I became a person that shows up to a bar and plays his Switch. And uh, Imagine my surprise, it did not make me an interesting person. Nobody ever approached me. Nobody ever like said, "Oh, really." No one gave a crap. But yeah, like I played it there. It's weird to put it because like I when you play it on modern consoles, you can push some buttons and then the speed moves at 3x, like, and then suddenly you have unlimited HP and unlimited limit breaks, and you have um no wild encounters. So like it's not playing the game the way it was intended to be played. That said though, there was so many parts of this story that and the gameplay and like how it goes through that it came out in 1997. I was 4 years old. I would be years. Like I didn't play this for the first time until I was 13, and it was so great. And this is the first time like I played it all the way through as an adult. And honestly, I think because like I have to say it changed my brain chemistry, not because it was just partially because it was that good, but because I was able to play it in the way that it was not intended. I was able to really just explore like the parts of it that people do, like the parts that people still talk about. And this game is special. Like I definitely see why Square Enix is like milking this particular IP to death, because it really is something special. I really cannot imagine how it was to, you know, be, I'm going to say like 18, 19, like be an adult or be even a teenager playing this for the first time in 1997. I guess I will never know. But that leads me to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and easily love this. Like I truly do love games that treat like remakes, books, adaptations that treat its original source as a first draft and then are like, all right, let's add something to it. Let's put some other stuff onto it. And it really does that. It explores it all. That said though, I was doing every single side quest. I was doing every little thing up until I hit chapter 10, and then I failed a mission. I failed a side mission somewhere in chapter 10, and I literally felt something in me break that I didn't know was on the verge of breaking. I felt like Vegeta when he was on that planet and he went Super Saiyan for the first time.
No, no more! That's it! I don't care!
I played this game for like 50 hours and I loved it, but then I don't know, something happened in the 51st hour and I just like hate the idea of like what I continued to do. That said though, like people criticize the ending. I love the ending. I love dumb magic anime bullshit. It's so great. Easily one of my favorite games of the year, which is not hard because despite having every systems, I didn't really get to play much this year, but of what I did play, I do love this. All right. Content creators. This is my first content creator. FD Signifier. Specifically this is good. I'm gonna put him as this good, but specifically his video of incels make the world go round. Easily, I love it. I'm glad I discovered uh video essays and specifically sociology and like culture YouTubers now that I'm an adult and that I have my own opinions and beliefs and like convictions, because I don't agree with everything FD says. Granted, that's because just my own lived experiences, and I don't know if you're just listening to me talk without really seeing me, but I am not black and FD is. And so like there is an important thing to listen to somebody else's perspective on a culture and a lived experience that is not your own. But I still, I definitely, especially when I was younger, I used to be a kind of thing like I would hear somebody say something and be like, well, I guess this is my opinion now. And like, I don't have that necessarily anymore. So I am able to like have my own thoughts, and hearing somebody else's thoughts and opinions can be supplementary to my own and like adding to it. It's like an extra tool in your toolbox. And think FD for culture and for um, black culture specifically is really good to learn about, but also he branches out into other things that I also like. He talks about anime, he talks about sports, he talks about like wrestling, which I'm not a wrestling fan at all, but like between a lot of these different content creators that I watch, like I have learned it against my will through osmosis. Speaking of video games, let's go back. I'm gonna put Astrobot and right below, honestly, I think above Final Fantasy VII because I loved Astrobot. It won Game of the Year, and I am so happy about that. None of the game is particularly hard. Like it's a 3D platformer, but I do not like platformers. I did not grow up with Mario. I don't like platforms. I didn't grow up with like the old Mega Man. I personally, in my lived experience, grew up with turn-based RPGs. And so I have been laughably bad at a lot of platformers. But then Astrobot came along and showed me that like, oh, I do like platformers. I just only like good platformers. And it's just so cute. My girlfriend adored every time I load it up, and like the little noises he makes, the little like way he moves around, and like like my girlfriend would literally stop what she was doing to watch me play. And yeah, I love Astrobot so much. It's so fun. Let's see. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the TV show. It's good. I am a big Percy Jackson fan, like, for better for worse to this day. There's like a thing where just like revisiting things that you liked when you were 12, and then seeing like you typically have like two reactions where they're like, oh, I see how this influenced the things that I continue to like, or you're like, oh man, like like I get the feeling of I can remember, I get nostalgic and I can remember how it felt to be 12 and what it was when I liked this. Percy Jackson as like a franchise like showed me that there's always going to be a part of me that's 12 because I still love Greek mythology. I love any mythology, even beyond like Roman. I've been getting into Mesoamerican and Egyptian the past year, and easily it started because of that. And the show is flawed because it's Disney, and Disney heavy use of CGI. They did not give the show hardly a budget, but I think it was very effective and competent in how it worked around the lack of a budget, how it worked around not being able to use complete CGI. And yeah, I think it's good. I think it's great, honestly, but um I'm gonna put it still below Pokemon, above Addy LaRue, but like below Pokemon because yeah, like I paused recording this video to go open up some packs in this shop, so it still has a chokehold on me. Which makes actually this next thing, what I'm about to say, sound weird. Pal World, Pal World, the video game, Pal World, the open world Pokemon concept with apparently not legally distinct enough Pokemon because they got sued. Um, it was fun. It really was fun for like the first 3 hours that I played because I just love any open world that lets you do whatever you want. And like they're like, hey, we don't recommend doing here, but like if you want to go here, we're not gonna stop you. Like very Breath of the Wild. But the character designs were uh I mean, it's like, hey, look like Pokemon, and then they did, and it's very uninspired. And then because I played it when it was in alpha or early access, so like I experienced lots of bugs. That's the thing. Like if this comes out fully in 2025, like full 1.0 launch, then I'll give it a play and then I'll revisit it. But for now, it's fine. Like I think that's the most you can. Actually, I say that, but then Hades 2 is here. But it's fine. Um, but hey, I mean, hey, Hades 2, I love this. I'm such a hypocrite. Hades 2 is in early access, and you play as Zagreus's younger sister. And then there's like a time skip and blah blah blah. It's still in early access. It's hasn't had a full like launch yet. But Hades, the first Hades, is one of my favorite video games of all time, and yeah, like it's more right now. As of right now, it's more Hades, and to me, that's a feature, not a bug. So yeah, I love it. I'm gonna keep playing it. Again, this probably will be on this list next year again for 2025. Yeah. But oh right. Here to balance out some of the thing. Pokemon Horizons, this is fine. This is a new Pokemon anime series that has continued after Ash. Ash won the national championship, and so yeah, now he's done. Like he did it. He's the guy now. He's that dude, and so it's not really interesting to follow him anymore. So they just created a new series, or Netflix created a new series, and it's fine. I For all the flaws the original series had, like it had some innovation that they had to work around. But this one is just kind of like the concept is this girl and this boy fly on this ship and then just go around to different areas and then go on adventures. And I think the whole going on a ship thing instead of walking around, it kind of like loses some of the luster for me. There's a book somewhere. I bought it at New York Comic Con about like the psychology of why people love Pokemon, and I haven't read it yet. But I want to do a video on it. I want to turn that into a video, and I want to see if that confirms what I think of why this series is just fine. Another thing is also I'm 31, and even like the adults in this show are supposed to be like 22, and so like it's hard for me to just like really connect without the nostalgia of it. But yeah, we'll see. For now, it's fine. Actually, I have more happy, fun memories with Pal World than I do with this show. So yeah, there you go, balance. Thank goodness you're here. Another video game. I love this. It's so British. If you are a fan of British humor, if you are a fan of like Stephen and Fry, and you want an easy like 2.5 hour adventure video game, this is it. I played it on the Steam Deck and really just like there's one mechanic and slap. You move side to side, up down, you jump and you slap, and that's literally the entire game. And it's so funny. It's so painfully British. um and there's like so many things that like I had to like look up and see why it's funny, but there's also so many things that like are just like funny. Like how do I even describe it? Like I don't know. I'm definitely one of those people that like if somebody says something, I'm like, ah, okay. But then like if a British person says the same exact thing, it'll make me laugh that much more. Uh, British people are funny. I wish England was real. Abbott Elementary, again, love this, and I'm gonna put that I love this more than Superman. Yeah, I love it more than Superman. Um, Elementary follows um, a group of millennial teachers and elder Gen X's um, in teaching in a Philadelphia school. It really just is so funny. Like like people compare it to The Office because like yeah, it is an all like it's explicitly that like format, but the jokes are just so funny. Like if you ever, I don't like BuzzFeed, but if you ever took a BuzzFeed quiz, this is the kind of like show like humor that like you can watch it with somebody who like is one of those like cringy millennials and you both will laugh. Like there are things that are just like so quick and funny. I also really like the way this show um writes like non-white characters, like the way it handles race in the context of the show. It's also, oh my god, like the white boy dressed up as Black Panther. I saw that clip today, like right before I recorded this. It was so fucking funny.
Oh, little Black Panther. Oh,
Wakanda forever.
maybe just Wakanda for the day.
Um, but yeah, there's not much depth to it. You know, like you're gonna laugh in the moment, and then like you're gonna move on in 5 minutes. Like I guess it's kind of like The Office in that sense, where like there are some standout moments for the most part. You're gonna watch it, you're gonna laugh, and then you're gonna move on. And which, after a hard day's work, that's what I love. But speaking of teachers in a school, but not a mockumentary, honestly, English Teacher by Brian Jordan Alvarez. Like, I started watching the show because like the creator's Latino, like even if he's white presenting, like, you know, still one of us, like part of the ship, part of the crew kind of thing. And so I was like, okay. But I had actually heard that like it was very funny. If you like Arrested Development, then this show is very good. I guess that's really the difference between these two. Abbott Elementary is The Office, but English Teacher is Arrested Development. The premise is a gay teacher in Austin, Texas, just like trying to navigate, like, you know, being in Texas and being gay and being Latino. He actually speaks Spanish, and like they acknowledge they acknowledge a lot of like the nuances of like different Latinidades in it, but without making the show about that.
Just claim that they're attacking you because you're Hispanic and they have like a racist agenda.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
Hispanic would never work anyway because they can do like one of those DNA tests and disprove it.
Oh my god, Becca, he is Hispanic.
In what way?
His mom from Colombia.
It's not Hispanic. Hispanic means Mexican.
You're bullying me.
You're bullying me because I told you not to
Look,
talk to me.
Mr. Marquez, if you're gay, you're Hispanic. This is a slam dunk here.
I'm telling you, gay doesn't count anymore, and he talks like a straight white guy.
I think you're.
But yeah, in the same way that like Abbott Elementary will have like 100 jokes and only 5 of them will hit, this one will have 20 jokes, but like 10 of them will hit, and 5 of them I'll still be thinking about like well after. So yeah, love English Teacher. Let's see, back to some content creators. I feel the need to put this in love. Baka and Co podcast. These are friends of the channel. Frank and Tyler, like they're my actual real life friends. I have touched their flesh and blood. They are real. But I drive a lot, like a lot. Like in the first half of this year, and it's one of the reasons I didn't play a lot of video games this year. In the first half of the year, my commute was 3 hours. 1 hour in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. And that was on a good day. And that was on like if my commute was only 3 hours, then that was a good day. And so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I pay for YouTube Premium to like not have ads. And one of the things is like, especially sitting in traffic, I'll throw on podcasts, and especially on a bad day, when I can't drink because I have to drive, I will put on Bakenko, and then I'll just be like, there it is.
There he is! There's my favorite white boy!
And I haven't even said anything about like what their podcast is about, but the podcast is about anime, and I am an anime fan, but I'm very much a casual anime fan. And it's cool it's cool listening to their podcast, because then I learn about like new things coming out, and then I learn like, oh, the creator of this show is now creating that show, or the writer or animation studio from this show will now be doing that show. And it, you know, opens up a new world of opportunities for me, but also, especially alone in my car, makes it feel like I'm hanging out with friends. So yeah, love them. Also, the partner of one of them is Girls Gays Animes, kind of a sister show to them, where as much as I love Baka, like, you know, it can be very male centric focused, and Girls Gays Anime, also a real life friend that I have touched in the flesh and blood. Not like that though. They like go through, female perspective of shows, like, Mon was the boy love kind of things. They're actually part of this here. And again, I'll see them or I'll listen to the podcast and it feels like driving along with some friends. So, also, full disclosure, I have been on both of their podcasts. I will link it into the description, so you can see and hear my thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! And romance, which I guess let's do that next. So 2024, at the beginning, I said that I was going to get into romance. I wanted to see like what the hype about it was, to like try and understand it, because I'm not like a romance person. Typically, like that's my least favorite like subplot of any kind of show or movie. And so I started it with the Love Hypothesis. I think this one is like almost explicitly Reylo fan fiction, like Kylo Ray and Rey from Star Wars. Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood. I did go to grad school, and so a lot of the things that they talk about here were very relatable. Do not go to grad school unless somebody is paying for it. So like specifically your company. But yeah, it was fine. Like I was like, okay, like this is cute. I do love that they acknowledge like the like real life memes of it. Like there's like a part where they're like talking about like Adam Driver on the SNL skit. And so yeah, that was funny. I didn't really think too much of it. Very contemporary, very much like, oh my, like which one's the best Fast and Furious? And they said the right answer, so can't fault them too much for that. Next up, so on some other stuff, I think I might have DNF'd them, but yeah, so I know that I do like romance because I love, like, Your Name is one of my favorite movies. And so I was telling Val from Girls, Gays, and Animes that I was about to give up. And so the next four, she had me watch four animes, well, four animes, we'll get to it, that were like very romantic, and see if I liked the perspective. And like a lot of them are gay. I think actually no, I think all of them are gay. And so that way, boom, I get two birds, one stone. I get to learn about romance, and I get to watch like from a different perspective that is not mine as a straight man. And I think the first one I watched was Sasuke and Minu. This one I did not like at all. I really was so bored. I was so bored. Again, these are just like two high school boys, and like the whole journey, the whole thing is that they both kind of know they're gay, or they both know they like each other, but one of them is like kind of coming to terms with the fact that he's gay. He doesn't know it yet, and he's coming to accept it. And the other one's just kind of like, yeah, I'm gay. Cool. And it was interesting, I guess, to see like a kid kind of like being like, huh, kind of like exploration, and not just like surprise, I'm gay. Like it like he went through and explored it all. So that was nice. But other than that, I was so bored. Like, and, like the side characters were not interesting. The actual romance itself was not compelling to me. Yeah, but what was the other one I watched? I watched wait, I think I watched Yuri on Ice completely by myself, but I can't find it. Here it is. Yuri on Ice. This is good. And I'm gonna put it I think I would say I enjoyed it more than Addie LaRue. Yuri on Ice is so funny because I have seen it all over the place. Like I've seen like I remember seeing way back when it was popular, like Yuri on Ice merch at Barnes and Noble. And so basically the main character Yuri, speaking of like millennial gifted kid burnout, really flopped one year at like the ice skating Olympics, I think it was. And then it's like, all right, part of it's a comeback story of him deciding like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be good now. And there's another guy named Yuri, but like Russian Yuri, not Japanese Yuri. And he is kind of like, I went into this thinking that it was like enemies to lovers. I went in thinking that like, oh, I think it's kind of weird that like this guy is 23 and Russian Yuri is 16 and like they have a romance, but like I just never questioned it because every cosplayer I've seen has been the two Yuris. Turns out there's another guy named Victor, the coach, who the coach who decides to go on and train like Japanese Yuri, and he's the love interest. And I did not know that. I think I was like 2 episodes away from the finale, and I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, it's like, it was good because they really do explore like the idea of like romantic love versus like sexual love, and that whole thing is really interesting to me. But yeah, it ultimately it was good. It was fine. Like I just didn't hit me. I wasn't like, oh shit, not like some of these other ones. But yeah, I liked it. It was good. What was the other one that she made me watch? This is Skate the Infinity. Sorry, Tyler, I did like it more than you. Did I like it more than you? Thank goodness you're here. I did. I think I liked it. I think I need to switch these. I'm gonna put FD's video here. Skate the Infinity. Skate the Infinity is about a new kid from Canada who moves to Japania and decides to take up skateboard. And in Canada, he was a snowboarder, and he moves Japania and decides to become a skateboarder, and like uncovers this like hidden world of skateboard underground things. And if you were a fan of Rocket Power, if you're a fan of like the street racing of Fast and Furious, you will love this. Not just with that concept, but the music is good. The music was in my Spotify Wrapped. The themes were good. Like the theme music was good. The characters were very colorful and bright. I watched the dub, and I think it must have been dubbed during COVID because it was very nostalgic in like, I don't mean this as an insult, but like some of the dub lines in like the first episode literally sounded like some voice actor was in a hotel room and they had like a sheet over their head to like, you know, block out any of the sound. And I mean that as a compliment because like that's what like Kids WB, like Fox Kids on like a Saturday morning, that's the vibe that I got, and that's like what it brought me back to. Watching anime before I knew that it was an anime, and just like everything was just a cartoon to me. Like that, it brought back a lot of nostalgia, like in that, and I mean that in a good way. So I love that. But the show that she made me watch that I love beyond is Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity will turn you into a wizard. This is a very funny thing where the concept is the main character reaches his 30th birthday and he's still a virgin. And the myth, I found out that like this is like an actual thing people used to say, that like, oh, if you go 30 years without sex, then you become a wizard. And in this world, wizard means you can read people's mind if you're touching them. And it was so funny. Just as a concept, it's very hilarious. But then this guy is working in an office and he reaches his 30th birthday and he starts to read people's minds. And then the hot shot of the office, the like popular, everyone loves him, he's like the best worker guy, he accidentally touches him and he finds out that the ace hot shot has a crush on him. And following that whole thing, that whole dynamic is the concept of the show. And there's also a movie. The live action one has a movie where they end up getting married, and proceeds from the movie went on to fund Japan's Marriage Equality Act, which, you know, how can you not love that? But it was very funny because Val told me to watch the anime, and she watched the anime, and I didn't know that the anime was based off of this live action ones, but I thought it would be funny. It'd be like, oh, because it was on Crunchyroll. So I thought it'd be funny to be like, oh, I'm going to watch the live action one. But it actually ended up leading to some very interesting conversations in the podcast that she had me on. But also it is the I put this in Change My Brain because I think seeing real life people kind of like solidified to me how with like some romance stories and like specifically this is the first one I've experienced in a long time where changing a certain factor of the story or of a character will change the story. Yeah, like one of the things you'll hear from bigots all the time is be like, "Oh, like if we're just changing races for everyone, then like why can't we make Black Panther white?" And it's always bad faith. There's never you're never going to change their mind. But the real reason for those who are actually are interested is that like if you change that character's race where it is important to who he is, then you're changing the story. The story of a white African king is fundamentally going to be a different one than a dark-skinned like African king. But this is the one it's easy to think of that for like sci-fi and like fantasy, but this is the first one. It was so contemporary. It's just contemporary. Like they work in an office. They have the same kind of chairs that I sit in. They have the same kind of like copy machine that I use every day, and the premise of it would be different. Like most gay stories that I've read or seen, you could easily swap out one of the characters for like a female or you like a femme presenting person, and it would not change the story in any meaningful way. But whereas with Sasuke and Miyano, their story was like about like, you know, their story was very like sanitized in terms of like they knew that if they came out as gay, they would be accepted by their friends and family. Versus with Cherry Magic, that was not the case. They had to like think about what it meant to come out. Like if they came out, how would that fundamentally change the like social dynamics of their workplace, of their family, of society. And I thought that was so interesting. Like it really needed like you cannot change the characters. You can't even change the race of these characters because like to make this Latino, to make this white, to make this black would fundamentally change the story. It was like so uniquely a story about the gay Japanese in Japan experience. So yeah, I did not know I could like romance the way that I did. Let's see. What If season 3? This is good. Honestly, I really liked it. It's What If season 3, like at this point where they're just like playing with the MCU and like, what if this happens? What if that happens? There were some good stories. There were some mediocre stories, but you know, it was good. Okay, so this one it got kind of cut off, but Dirty Pop, Dirty Pop, and it's a documentary about what are they named? Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. And I was not the target audience for either one of those bands when I was a kid. And I Man Carrying Things has a joke about like coworker shows or coworker movies, which are like shows and movies that you watch so that you have something to talk to your coworkers about with at the water cooler. Like, oh yeah, I saw this weekend. Oh, how'd you like it? Like, oh, it was good, blah, blah, blah. I saw this on my Netflix recommended and I thought, oh, this will be interesting. I can just watch it and I'll have something to talk about with like, you know, normal people who don't with you know normal people in my office. And when I tell you not a single soul I have met has seen or heard of this show, this documentary. Every time I have told somebody about this, like, oh, have you seen like Dirty Pop? Every single time people are like, wait, what? And then I explain to them what it is. And then they're like, oh, that sounds very interesting. And yeah, I couldn't really tell you too much about it. I don't like that they use generative AI to like recreate the guy who like started both Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, which I didn't know was the same guy, but it makes sense. There's a line in there that like, if you're Coke, someone else is gonna make Pepsi, so you may as well beat them to the punch, which I thought was interesting, but yeah, it was fine. I'm still a little salty that like I thought like, oh, I'm gonna watch this so I can be a well-rounded person and be able to talk to people who are pleasant to be with at parties. And no, nothing, never, like my time was wasted. Okay, let's see. Pixel Circus is another YouTube channel that I watched a lot. I love them. They are, they do It's Too Early, which is like nerdy pop culture news. They do TTRPGs. They did a Sailor Moon D&D. They did My Little Pony Totally Spies D&D. Fallout TTRPG, a Twilight one. It's so much fun. It's so much fun seeing like these things that I am familiar with, or like pop culture things, and then seeing them reinterpreted into a new thing like Dungeons and Dragons, which I guess we'll start ranking those things next. Where is it? The Dungeons and Dragons. This is the year that I got into Dungeons and Dragons, actually playing it. There it is. There's like the D&D playbook. I started DMing in 2024, which is the Dungeon Master. I'm the one that creating the stories. I'm not the one being a character. I'm the one driving the story forward, and it's my first time doing that. I have done a couple sessions as a player, but anyone who's played D&D will tell you that, like, yeah, the hardest part is like getting people together to go consistently, to like gather and rally and not have life like overtake everything. And yeah, that's about my experience, where I'll do like 1 or 2 sessions and then be like, oh, somebody can't make it because XYZ, or like, oh, our DM got COVID, so now we can't play. And so yeah, I think 4th or 5th session literally yesterday, and that is the most D&D I've ever actually played in real life. And so being the DM, like being the person who like is responsible for it, changed my brain in like preparation and how I have to handle things. So yeah, that was good. It changed my brain chemistry in a good way. Let's see more. Dungeons and Dragons, Dimension 20 season 2. I'm putting it at the bottom of I love this, because Dimension 20, specifically Fantasy High sophomore year and Fantasy High junior year. I'm sorry. Thank goodness you're here. No, yeah. Yeah, I love it. Like it higher than that. Higher than the incel. Fantasy High really takes those tropes of like John Hughes, like Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, what's that Sweet 16 one? Is it literally just called Sweet 16? But adds like fantasy tropes to it, like adds goblins and orcs and wizards and world-ending deities. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone else mention this, but junior year specifically, I think, is a metaphor for children falling down the alt-right pipeline, and I haven't seen anyone else talk about this, and that's a video I want to do. This is also, yeah, it's like so good. It has so many funny moments. It has so many, like, I send it to all my friends who don't know what D&D means, or they only know Dungeons and Dragons from Stranger Things, but like they'll still laugh. Like they still will find some of the moments, the out of context moments that I send it to them, like so hilarious. So yeah, that so much fun. That's another thing. That's another reason why I haven't played as many video games or like watched as much TV, is because each campaign is like 34 hours long. And so yeah, watching that takes up a lot of time. But again, I listen to it because I was driving a lot, so much, especially in the first half of the year. I was driving so much. Which one is next? This one is... Did I not load these up? Turns out I did not load the some of these up. What's called? So some of these I'm gonna add more dropout while I'm here. Never Stop Blowing Up, which is not Dungeons and Dragons, but for lack of a better term, Dungeons and Dragons. It's a new system, but it's Kids on Bikes, but not Kids on Bikes. And Court of Fey and Flowers, which is literally by their admission, Dungeons and Dragons and Bridgerton. Which this is the one I showed my girlfriend because I wanted to introduce her into Dungeons and Dragons, and she loves Bridgerton, so I figured this was a good introduction. These we have not finished because, again, they're long, and getting her to sit down and watch it can be sometimes, finding the time, finding 2 hours at a time to do it. I'm gonna be honest, Faye and Flowers, I'm so bored. I have fallen asleep so many times just watching it. That's just nothing against them. I love Abria as a DM. I don't care about Bridgerton kind of stuff. That whole drama thing is so interesting on paper, but then like watching it, I'm just like, bring some combat, please. Which, granted, I'm part of the problem. I like people will criticize if you don't know D&D, like the 5th edition, because it's very combat heavy, because it's meant to be appealing to everyone. It's meant to appeal to the broadest audience, but that's me. I'm the problem. I'm the broadest audience. But yeah, another one we haven't finished is no. To finish out the dropout portion, I got a dropout subscription this year, so that's why I've been watching a lot. Particularly Make Some Noise. I do love it more than that. I do. I liked it. I loved it more than Skate to Infinity. Make Some Noise, Game Changer, like all these different shows. Like I could have just put Dropout here. Actually, I'm surprised I did not. But Dropout as a subscription service, it's so fun. Like I have a kind of a niche sense of humor, like, and this is like exactly that. Like not everything is a hit, but like there are some things that just like get me, like some jokes and some bits really just like dig down into my heart and my soul that like have made me laugh the hardest I've laughed in such a long time just by sitting in front of a TV. So yeah, I think that's all the Dropout. This year I got into One Piece, and I loved it just as much as I loved Final Fantasy. Probably I have not finished is the thing. I should put it in did not finish, because I'm on chapter 756 of the manga, and I'm only on like episode 133 of the anime, but between both of those things, that's longer than this. Literally, actually, I've read as much One Piece as there is of Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia combined. So if I have those two things here, I'm gonna put as much there. And I'm on the Dressrosa arc right now, and I get it. I get the hype. Honestly, the fact that it took me this long is like a crime against my Latinidad. But I finally did it. I finally like got started, especially when I heard that it's like getting close to ending. And yeah, it's just like the story is very simple. Like. And one of the creators on here next, TB Skyen, actually, I'll put him up there with One Piece. He does like very good analysis. He has a current series like what are the best panels in One Piece, like judging Pokemon designs. And I think a lot of my appreciation for One Piece comes with watching his videos concurrently as I'm reading it. But it really is like the paneling is really good, where just like, okay, I see how this has to be a comic, this has to be a manga first, and then the anime doing a good job of like adapting that, even though it has some problems. But the story itself is very simple, of like there are these villains that make things complicated, that the world government makes things complicated, and then all of a sudden comes along a kid in like jeans and a sandals and a straw hat, and he's just like, hey, I want to have fun, stop making these complicated rules and let's have some fun. And again, the same way that Percy Jackson, there's always going to be a part of me that's 12. There's always going to be a part of me that just loves like simple heroes, simple stories of like, this is good and this is bad, and good will overcome bad. Like it's dumb, it's simple, but it's I don't know, I'm a sucker for it. Speaking of, I reread the Percy Jackson book. Yeah, I just did the audiobook. I got it from my library. I love it. I've read it like God knows how many times in my life. So yeah, here we are. Goodbye Eerie. I think this is good. I don't remember too much about it. It's this kid who gets gifted a camcorder for his birthday, and he just kind of goes through life. And Goodbye Eerie. Eerie, I think, is like this person who befriends him, but then I think part of the gimmick is that like you're not supposed to know if she's real or not. Yeah. Kaiju number 8. I saw this one at New York Comic Con, actually. The first episode, New York Comic Con 2023. They're like, hey, watch the first episode. I was like, I had time, and so like me and my friend, we stood in line and saw it, and immediately the first thing that I saw was like, oh, this is an Attack on Titan clone. Like, Attack on Titan is popular. Some producer was like, hey, do more of that, and then some guy was like, hey, I kind of have that, and then that's what it became. It's fine. I watched it. I think I had COVID, and so I just like watched all of it, and it was so painfully fine. Like I saw it. I saw the first episode at New York Comic Con. I thought it was interesting because like I liked the idea of an older main character, especially in an anime. You know, he's 32. You know, he missed his like original chance at a big adventure, and the captain is like his childhood best friend. And so I also loved that idea of, you know, two friends, paths diverge. One is a loser, one is like a hero. I love that. But like the actual story was fine. It's just I don't know. This is baby's first anime. Like, if you've never seen an anime before, then like this will probably be good. I've seen so many, and it has like all the typical tropes that I've like come to associate with it. That I'm like, it's cool. Just wait, why did I put this on? This is fine. This should easily be. This is not for me. Let's go. Did not finish, but this, Scrubs. I started rewatching it because I just have like some background sitcom show on, going back to like I just like a simple story. I can't imagine like this is good. Like if when I finish it next year, it'll probably be like this is good. Witch from Mercury. This is my attempt at getting my girlfriend into anime, where it's a retelling of Shakespeare's The Tempest, but with giant fighting robots and lesbians. And so when I told her that, she was like, hell yeah, let's watch it. And yeah, we're making our way through it. I like it so far. I think we're 8 episodes in. Batman the Animated Series, that's another one that getting my girlfriend into superheroes that's not Marvel. She loves Marvel, but now I'm trying to like get her, especially now that James Gunn is taking over DC. Batman the Animated Series, like with Kevin Conroy. We're making our way through it. I love it. She loves how much camp it is, and I forgot how camp it really gets. Where like we watch it with captions, and like so it'll say like whoosh 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 with every whoosh 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 noise. It's really fun. It's it's simple but so good. I love this. Wait. Owl House. Yes, that's another one. I've seen it. No, I do love it. Yeah, because I've seen it. My girlfriend has not. This is little bit isekai, basically. Speaking of anime, yeah, this girl gets isekai'd into this witch world and learns how to become a witch. Disney canceled it. Disney did it dirty, but like it's so good. This is another thing of like this is by the partner of the creator of Gravity Falls, which I'm sure she does not like getting compared or getting introduced as that. Dana Terrace, I think that's her name. But yeah, I love it. I love that the main character is Dominican. I like the show. It's cute. It's fun. This is another one of those simple stories, because this unlike a lot of these, it's like literally intended for children. Which there it is. Bluey. That's another one. This one's my girlfriend's favorite comfort show, where like she'll just put it on. It's 8 minutes long. I definitely see the hype. This is another one. Like I've seen the memes. I've seen all the jokes about like adults watching Bluey, but it's deserved. I get it. All right. These two are kind of related. So there is Filter World, which is a book about how the algorithm that so many YouTubers talk about is not people talk about it as if it's like nebulous force of nature, when really it's not. Like all these algorithms like Instagram and like this YouTube and the other one that might get banned soon, they're not this like big nebulous thing. They're being controlled by, they are created by people, and they are being controlled by people to serve a company's interest, and the company's interest is making money, and they make money by having you and me spend more time online. And yeah, I've been honestly, I'd say I like this is good, and it's better than Pokemon TCG Pocket because yeah, like it articulates and puts into words like feelings I've been having. And I'm like, why does every coffee shop look the same? Why does every decor look the same? Like a lot of like how the internet flattened culture is like the on like the subtitle of it. And yeah, like a lot of things seem the same. Things are worse than they are, like quality wise. Like the real life seems worse. Like design overall is very like plug and play, and this book is a very big insight into that. But again, for somebody like me who's like thought about this kind of things, like nothing really was like insightful. But he does give like no, okay, I'll say nothing really insightful change. I will say like there's nothing really that you're like, okay, now what? At least for me. For you, maybe. If you're watching this, perhaps you will have, you know, a new thing into your add a new thing into your routine. Like maybe you will be more conscious in how you spend your time and like how you do your social media scrolling. Like I can say for me that like after I read this book, I started deciding that like no, I'm not just gonna like passively listen to music. I'm going to like listen to albums. I don't know when it happened, but at some point I stopped listening to like whole albums. I used to, especially for hip hop, like I would download whole things and like listen to them like track to track, like no skips. Like even if I didn't like a song, I would like listen to it, and so that I could get the whole experience. And then I just stopped doing that at some point. And so with this, I started doing that. In that same breath, though, the day the world stops shopping, it's fine. This one kind of explores. It's like a thought experiment about like speculative nonfiction about like what happens if like the world stops shopping. Like remember COVID at the beginning of COVID when like people stopped buying things they didn't need and the stock market crashed, and then like wait a minute, if that's being held up by needless consumer spending, then like what happens if everyone listens to those finance bros advice? If everyone just stops buying things that they don't need and stops buying all these like useless crap that ends up in a landfill in 2 years, what will happen? And that doesn't really do anything. There's no satisfying answer. There's no real satisfying insights. The only reason that I'm putting this in This Is Fine and not for me is that it recontextualized how I think about like Sundays. Like I'm recording this on a Sunday right now, and a lot of the things that I personally would love to go to, the ones that I would love to treat as like a quote unquote third place, are closed, or they close early. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is everything closed on a Sunday? And part of me makes me think like oh, like religious, like what's the thing, like Christo-fascism, blah blah blah. But like really, I don't know, people deserve a day off too. So it's like make me think like, okay, I should be able to sit at home, especially for how much I pay in rent. Jesus, like be able to sit at home and like relax and enjoy my house and enjoy my own free time. So yeah. Oh, another one for I didn't finish is Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. Can't wait to finish it. I played about 4 hours of it, but then, you know, started to move and a new job, and yeah, it's a big time, fun time. My Hero Academia. Okay, this one is season 7. This is good. I love it. I love the soundtrack for My Hero Academia. I think it is this generation's Dragon Ball Z, and I mean that both as a compliment and as an insult. Without really saying too much, this is for season 7. Yeah, it's fun. The music's great. I love this for the manga. I started reading manga in 2022, and I've been reading it week to week. And this year, I finally was able to like catch up and read the end. And unpopular opinion, I think the ending is good. I think it's great without really spoiling too much. Like, especially near the end. Actually, I'm gonna say this is good. I'm actually gonna say the anime is better than the manga because I don't know. At some point, like the drawing just became so bad, and I'm like, wait, what the hell happened here? I don't understand what's happening here. But yeah, as a story, it was lacking in some places. There were so many good ideas that if I was like watching and putting this on this list 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would probably put this in change my brain chemistry, like in the top category. But at this point, I've seen enough. I think people are also starting to realize that, like, once you've seen other things, My Hero Academia isn't as impressive because it is inspired by Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Z like inspires all these things. Yeah. I still think it's good. I stand by what I say that it's this generation Dragon Ball Z, but yeah. I also think, much like Kaiju number 8, this definitely falls under baby's first anime. Actually, I think My Hero Academia might be the perfect starter anime because there is fan service, but if you start somebody on an anime that does not have fan service and then they go on to watch other animes that have fan service, then they're like, wait, what the crap is this? There is unresolved plot lines that will prepare them for other animes that have unresolved plot lines. There is editor interference where some characters will start off very important and then later on they become not important in favor of other characters that are important, that weren't important before, and they're like, what the hell happened? And it's because those other characters became popular with fans, and so the editor said, hey, like, showcase these people more. And the editor said, okay, fine. Jujutsu Kaisen, I love this. The manga finished this year, and the anime, season 2 of the anime finished this year. Unlike My Hero, I love the manga more. I think the paneling is better. This is another one of those cases where the creator is my age. Gege is 31, 32. And I sense that they have the same disdain and same hatred for anime fans that I do. Anime is one of those things that, like, I don't tell people that I like it until, like, if you like anime, like, the burden of proof is on you to show that you're not a weirdo. And yeah, that's not because of that I don't openly talk about it with real people in real life. But yeah, I love it. Gege, I feel like the ending was kind of like lackluster, especially in the manga. But I suspect that's kind of on purpose because, again, I suspect that Gege does not like anime fans the same way that I do not like anime fans. But yeah, on the topic of anime, the Big Three myth by Totally Not Mark. The Big Three myth, or I forget what the actual title of it, but like when I was coming up in the West, in the US, I almost want to put this in change my brain chemistry because, like, the whole idea was like, oh, you got the big three. You got Naruto, you got One Piece, and you got Bleach. Those are the big three. And so the same way, I hate anime fans because whenever you bring this up online, like, yeah, but that was only in the West. Like, in Japan, that wasn't really a thing. I'm like, okay, cool. I live in the West. I lived in the United States. I lived in Florida. Yeah, I don't care what societally there was going on over there. Yeah, when I was coming up, yeah, those were the big three. That's what people talked about. And Dragon Ball Z. But, you know, that's different because that was like, you know, that was already a completed story versus like these were coming out. Like, these were coming out week to week. I really got into subbed anime because I watched Naruto, like, and I was like, wait, no, there's more. There's got to be more. But like this really goes into like how culture and like the cultural zeitgeist is not always reflective of the like actual numbers of the business. Like for example, like people my age will love like Treasure Planet and they will love Atlantis, like Disney movies, but those were bombs. Like those did not perform well. Those were like panned by critics and they did not perform well in the box office. But all of us like talk about it with such nostalgia. Like, and Totally Not Mark goes into how like if you look at the top 3 or the big 3, but then you look at the actual top 3, like Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece were never in the top 3 best selling at any together at any point in time. But like this is that cultural thing that we created. So yeah, I think that was interesting. Also in that same breath, now that I said Zeitgeist, because that reminded me, Daily Zeitgeist. If you liked cracked.com way back in the day, this is by one of the founders of that. And yeah, it's just like the Daily Zeitgeist. It's like what the people are talking about. It keeps me from living under a rock. It's part of my like morning routine. I listen to it while I'm on my driving to work, on drinking my coffee. It's good. It's great. It's funny. It's like my kind of humor. It gets a little too West Coast biased. Like I mentioned that this keeps me from living under a rock, but like sometimes they live under a rock and it's kind of annoying. Like they were like a Big Joe was like performing and they with their West Coast bias were like, who cares about Big Joe? And I felt offended. Like I'm not even from New York and I felt offended by what they had said. But yeah, I will continue to listen to them into the new year. I've been listening to them now, so yeah. But speaking of, Raw Dog by Jamie Loftus, which is like a look into hot dogs and like how they are made and like the hot dog business. Jamie Loftus is a guest, like the face of Mount Zeitmore on the Daily Zeitgeist continuously. She does Santa University. And she is very funny, like easily one of my favorite. Like when she is on the Daily Zeitgeist, I am listening to everything she said. I am laughing my butt off the entire time. She has lots of other podcasts. 16 Minutes of Fame, her 16th Minute of Fame, which is like she looks at like big trendy moments of memes and finds out like the fallout of what happens. Like goes on to what continued to happen. But the book was just fine. It's funny because like the book is hyped up by like a lot of people who I know for a fact don't listen to the Daily Zeitgeist. It's hyped up by people who I know don't know what a podcast is. And so I think for them, I think one of the key things, I'm actually gonna put this in good because it's Jamie Loftus. So I do like her. She's very funny, but I'm used to her humor. I'm used to her delivery. I also did the audiobook that was like read by her. So I'm used to her delivery. I'm used to her punchy quips. And so I think maybe that's why I just didn't love it as much as other people tend to, because for a lot of them, like it's unique. It's a unique experience. But for me, I'm like, yeah, there's her, but yeah, I think it left, I don't know. The thing is, I don't know what it was missing. I don't know what it could have done better. But yeah, honestly, I do recommend it. Raw Dog by Jamie Loftus. Next, let's do the Poppy War trilogy 2 and 3. This was good. This the Dragon Republic and Burning God, where it is Chinese mythology, which is a first for me. It's this girl who has phoenix powers and then basically takes on the Empire of China, which, yeah, that's awesome. But the stories themselves, she is not a likable character at all. Like, and the third book is kind of repetitive, where like because she's so overpowered, a lot of the plot is like involves having to take away her powers so that she can't solve everything through violence, and so she has to learn how to be humble, but then she doesn't learn how to be humble. But but it is a fall from grace. Like she is not a likable character, but at no point does the story ever try to frame her as one. No point do they try to like, make her palatable for a thing. But yeah, it's a fall from grace. It's not a happy ending, but in such the best way. I see a put Chaperone on here twice, so I'm gonna put her on here because Chaperone. My girlfriend is bi, so I've been hearing her a lot. A lot of my friends are part of the LGBT. I heard the song so much of her music during Pride, and yeah, I like her. She's good. I like her music, like as an artist, just fine. Like she's good, but it is very funny. Like the joke of like seeing white people get canceled for political takes that you agree with. Her whole thing with the election. I am not gonna say what I want to say, but when I saw what was happening to her, I'm like, yeah, get her. Sabrina Carpenter. I started listening to her because her boyfriend Barry Keoghan is one of my favorite actors. He's one of those actors that like I will watch whatever it is he's in. I will just straight up watch it without any question. And yeah, it's good. It's pop music. I see why I see why she's popular. I don't really have too many thoughts or opinions about it. But while I'm doing music, let me do Kendrick's diss tracks. The whole summer, oh my god. Euphoria was in my Spotify Wrapped. It's so like, I think what I loved the most about the Kendrick diss tracks is that it changed my brain chemistry in how much someone can hate somebody, like how much you can truly despise and dislike another person. It's so much fun. I love it. I'm never gonna let anyone tell me that I have to be the bigger person ever again. Let's see what's next with music. I thought I had another one. Oh yeah, Linkin Park. I love this. The new. I'm not gonna say anything about the new singer because I see conflicting reports and I can never see a direct source about her like controversies, and I'm not gonna bring them up here. But I love them. Like I love Linkin Park. It's like one of the first like music albums that I downloaded. And yeah, it's just so much fun. It really feels like old Linkin Park. It feels like Breaking the Habit. It feels like Hybrid Theory, which leads me to Arcane season 1 and 2. I watched season 1 with my girlfriend as a rewatch, and then season 2 Arcane is interesting because like it should be under Change My Brain because it makes so many choices, like so many smart choices. The animation, first of all, is amazing, stellar. Like the fact that every element is a different animation style. Like the fire is a different animation style than the water, which is a different animation style than the wind, which is a different animation style than the lightning. That's amazing. The character writing is so good. Every time you think that, oh, this is what they're gonna do, no, they actively make the harder choice. But like then I watch it and I'm like, oh my god, that was amazing. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like on my phone, just like not thinking about it all. It's just like when I'm watching it, it's so technically perfect, and I think that's why I'm gonna put it at the bottom of I love this. But like I don't, I maybe it's just the fact that like it shows me that things can be perfect, but like in ways that I already know. I don't know, but it's League of Legends. I do love, one of the funny things is that Fallout is also here, and I'm gonna put it at the top of like this is good, but like Fallout and Arcane were both nominated for best video game adaptations, and Fallout won because Fallout really follows the spirit of the game, like the jokes, the humor, the like gameplay of it all. But then Arcane, meanwhile, on the other hand, is only good if you do not know League of Legends. Like if you don't play League of Legends, so you don't mess around with League of Legends, it's so much better. Let's see. Martha Wells, Murderbot, The Artificial Condition. I don't remember this at all. I read this at the beginning of the year. I think this is the second one where he becomes friends with the ship. Murderbot, I think, is going to be played by Michael Fassbender in the Apple TV show. But it basically is this robot who was designed for, it's basically a Terminator who is given anxiety by, in order to make it a better like machine, they gave it anxiety, and then he's just trying to like live his life now, or live their life, because they are like genderless. They are not just because they're a robot, but like that's just how they prefer. It's fine because I just don't remember anything about it. Well, let's see. Wintering by Catherine. This is a book about how a woman, like, she will go through hard times. Whenever she feels like depression coming along, she knows that she's about to enter a rough mental state time, then she will prepare for wintering. She calls it wintering, the same way that like bears prepare for hibernation, and like how she learns to like muddle the storms and like go through hard times. And ultimately it was just not for me. There's some very interesting insights, but I don't know. It put me in a reading slump, honestly. But I don't know. Like I don't know if like on a different day in a different time I would have felt better about it. But yeah. There's always this year. This one, I think, if I had to put anything in my top, like, it was my favorite book of the year. Book of 2024 is There's Always This Year. It's basically this guy goes, like, takes stock of his life, and now that he is a successful author and all these things, like all these things that people say, like, oh, now that you're making money, oh, now that you're rich and famous, you should be doing this, and he's just like, no, I don't want to do any of that. I want this life that I live. This life that I have lived is my home. Like he talks about people who want to leave their hometown and people who want to go on to do other things. But he's like, he really romanticizes and like really appeals to the value of staying where you grew up. Like how of like walking on the streets where your parents played, where your grandparents played, how there is culture and history there. And it's really beautiful. The prose by itself is worth reading. Yeah, easily my favorite book of the year. And then I think one of the things that helped was also An African and Latina History of the United States by Paul Ortiz. This is good. But the thing is, this is very much a textbook. Like, this is not meant for like light reading on the beach. Like, this is like dense history. This is dense like racial theory. This is actually like the critical race theory that like a lot of people are talking about. And one of the things it's talking about is like how Black Americans and Latino American or Latina Americans. By the way, Latinx is pronounced Latine. Again, anyone who tells you, oh, you can't pronounce it in Spanish is fucking stupid, and it's pronounced Latine. But basically talking about like the intersection of like Black Americans and Latina people from like a societal perspective. But reading that concurrently with, There's Always This Year, like in 2023, I got the opportunity to move back to the place where I went to high school, like living with my parents for a while back. I was feeling really down about it, but particularly when the history book mentioned Tampa, where I'm living at, like the history by name mentioned Tampa as like a very big, important historical part, combined with There's Always This Year, like the love and adoration of where he grew up and like where you live, made me change my mind on a lot of things where there is history here. Like, Tampa has 3 professional sports teams. Like, to call it a podunk little city, like if this was Ocala, sure, but like it's not. Like, it's a big city. It has a history. It has stuff here. And it's up to me to find it. It's up to me to champion it and to enjoy it while it is here. I meant to put it with Arcane, but All Really Sarcastic Productions, it's a YouTube channel. They do a lot of tropes. They do a lot of history. They're really good. Their video on Arcane and like the Unbreakable Bonds of Love, like I watched it in between season 1 and 2, and I'm glad I did, because like it gave me some insight to the how good the writing of Arcane is. Let's see. I'm gonna take a... All right, let's do some rapid fire ones. Nimona is a children's book turned into a story where a little girl is a shapeshifter, but also she's not a little girl, she's like an immortal thing. And the idea is like questioning institutions and like myths and stories, and like how much do we really believe them, and like, oh, like there is a good thing of like intersectionality of just like, oh, like you're oppressed, but like so am I, but we're not oppressed in the same way, but we're still oppressed. It was fine. Like I think, yeah, it was cute. It was a kid story, not too much depth. Fly Me to the Moon, at the bottom of this is fine, almost not for me. This one is the story of the moon landing of Apollo 13, but as a love story. When I was watching this, I thought of what's his name, Michael Bay, punching the air, because people criticized him for making a Pearl Harbor movie, and the Pearl Harbor movie had like a romantic subplot, not even a subplot, I think it was like the plot, and Pearl Harbor was like the subplot. This is a similar thing where I always get not Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson. This one reminded me she can actually act, but she's acting alongside Channing Tatum, who cannot act. And I think I wonder if, like, I don't know, if this movie was like a different, like they had to rewrite around the fact that he can't act. But yeah, it was fine. It was cute, I guess. Let's see, rapid fire ones. Anyone But You. This one's just not for me. This was Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. They were, I think, oh yeah, Anyone But You. What's the one? It's a retelling of a Shakespeare story, but I can't remember which one. But it has like the line like, all's well that ends well. I'm like, wait, that was Shakespeare? Cool. I didn't know that, but I can't even remember which story it is. So yeah, nothing too memorable about it either. Like, I'm just like, I can't remember. I cannot tell you anything that made me laugh in this movie. We live in a time. This is fine. This was marketed as like a really sad, really like romantic story between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. This blew up because I needed to watch this movie because of a horse carousel meme. It was so funny. They chose that. Like, the actual marketing said, yes, this is the one that we're gonna release. We saw it, and we pointed like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like, oh, there's the horse, there's the horse. But it was fine. I thought it was gonna be sadder. Yeah. Let's see, Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. This is good. This is Studio Ghibli. They release like Ghibli Fest every year, every summer they release it, and this is the 40th anniversary. This is the first time I've seen it since I had cognizant thoughts and thoughts of my own. It really is funny. Like, this movie really is just Pokemon the first movie, like Mewtwo Strikes Back. Mewtwo Strikes Back like very shamelessly just copied this, and like took it almost beat for beat. But yeah, it's good. It's Ghibli. Like, can't really say too much about it. +1. This is good. It's fine. Actually, I liked it more than Nimona. Actually, and I like most of these things more than Nimona. But yeah, Jack Quaid and why can I not remember her name? Yeah, Maya Erskine. She was in Pen 15. Yeah, Pen 15. Yeah, very funny. Basically, it's a rom-com. Basically, the premise is Jack Quaid and Maya Erskine have a bunch of weddings to go to, but they're both single, and so they beat each other's +1 for a bunch of weddings, and then they ended together. Shocker. It was fun. It was cute. I actually do remember some very funny jokes. The banter between them is very funny and very cool. Ratatouille. This is also fine. I rewatched this for the first time as an adult. I actually have a couple videos planned, and Finding out that this is the same guy that directed The Incredibles and The Iron Giant, and finding out that he's a libertarian kind of made sense, and it started to it's not bad, but definitely I'm like I definitely see some themes in these kind of stories that I definitely want to explore more. Phantom Menace re-release. This is actually one of the first movies on that I went to on a date with my now girlfriend. Yeah, it's Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's fun. Like funny fact though, like as a kid I couldn't understand Jar Jar Binks because I didn't talk English good. So yeah, I didn't really get what was the point of Jar Jar. But then I was an adult. I'm like, okay, I see how this is good for kids. Also, apparently, I put Nimona on here twice, so I'm gonna put her there concurrently at that. The Boys season 4. So this is the one that people did not like because this is the one where they made it explicitly clear that Homelander is Donald Trump and they are making fun of the alt-right. And a lot of people don't like it because, you know, they like even people who politically agree with me or didn't like it because like the show wasn't like the plot wasn't that good, which I argue that none of the plot is necessarily good. What carries the show is the acting, and the acting is incredible. The acting is why it's in I Love This and not This Is Good. I still love the writing in the show. I still love it directly just saying it, like not even like subtext is for cowards. But yeah, it's there, but it is at the bottom because just so many other things that I like. Let's see, Madam Web. No wait, no, that's not Madam Web. Where is she? Madam Web. Yeah, this is not for me. Like it's the show. Like I watched it for the meme. The meme is funny. Like it is funny how bad it is, but like it's just not good. I put it in not for me, but between that and some of these other ones, I almost was tempted to put this is bad category, but I didn't. And so here we are. The Super Mario movies. It's fine. Like I have no real big nostalgia for Mario, so actually it should be below Acolyte. It's fine. Like it's nice. It like I'm sure if that was like a movie channel, like I could give it like an actual score and it would be higher than Acolyte, but like from like vibes perspective, it's yeah. I don't really have too much big of a nostalgia for Mario. Maybe that will change this year once I actually beat the games. Let's see, Dune 2. I love this. I fucking love Dune. Dune is one of my favorite science fiction books. I love the ideas that it has. I love the acting. I love like Denis Villeneuve is my favorite director. Like I also love how he does not like dialogue, like explicitly. He has said as much, and so yeah. Wild Robot. This is good. I saw this. This is the story of a robot who is trying to find its purpose and finds its purpose in becoming a mom and raising the runt of a litter, duck, cat. Is there a cat? Pedro Pascal is a fox. Yeah. I mean, it's good. There's some really heart-wrenching moments. Have not really thought about it since, but the animation's amazing. The animation is why it's so high that it is. Like, yeah, I don't think about the story, but I think about the animation. I mean, I guess I should be fair. I'll put it below Percy Jackson. Yeah, that's about right. Let's see, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I watched this at the beginning of the year. There's a Guardians of the Galaxy video that I've been trying to make for 2 years. Rewatched it as an adult, not 20 years old, as like a real adult now. When it first came out, I'm like, I don't see why people love it as much as they do. Now that I'm grown, I'm like, oh yeah, no. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was the best one. I should have put this one with all the other Dungeons and Dragons, but Delicious in Dungeon, if you're annoying, it's called Dungeon Meshi, where basically it takes the idea of a D&D campaign where like in a dungeon, and you cook the monsters that are there for food. It's very much like Anthony Bourdain's like No Reservations. One of the things that I do love about this particularly is just like the way they do world building, where Like there's like a mushroom, and the mushroom is hard to cut from the side, but it's soft to cut from the bottom, or like from top to bottom. And that makes sense because when you're if you're like a swordsman, like if you're like a knight, you're not going to swing top to bottom, because if you miss, or even when you get to the other end, your sword is going to hit the ground and it's going to chip and it's going to damage it, and you got to replace it. And so you learn to cut from side to side to cut through. But eventually, the mushrooms, evolutionarily speaking, what survives, the mushrooms that have a harder, rougher side to side are the ones that are going to be the ones that survive. And so over as time goes on, yeah, they develop a stronger side to side, but they develop a softer top to bottom. That's the kind of stuff I adore. I love that so much. That should be higher, honestly. Yeah, that's yeah, yeah, sure. Here at this point, this is just vibes. Doctor Who with Shuri Nwadi. This was fine. I wanted to love the new Doctor Who. Maybe I'm just too old for Doctor Who. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if these are like if the way the direction of the show is going. I don't know if I'm not the target audience anymore. I wanted to love it. There were some good moments. There were some good stories, but a lot of the criticisms I've seen are for people who just don't like Doctor Who, which is fine. I do like old Doctor Who. I love Doctor 10. I love Doctor 11. And I fell off during Peter Capaldi's Doctor 11, no, Doctor 12. But from what I did see, I loved it. I cut off. I stopped watching at a certain arc where I'm like, okay, I'm satisfied. And then, yeah. I think maybe it just got removed from HBO or something. That might have been why I stopped watching it. But yeah, it was fine. Let's see. Wicked also, this is fine. The thing about Wicked is like it's an adaptation. So like with an adaptation, I had mentioned earlier that like I love an adaptation that treats its source material as a first draft. And when you're going from a stage to a movie, you have some more ability, you have more capability to do things that you could not do on a stage. Versus here, then the movie, they didn't do anything particularly interesting. First of all, like the whole movie is longer than the actual play, and this is just part one. So part one is longer than the whole goddamn play, and there was nothing interesting that made me think like, oh yeah, this needed to be a movie. There were just like one or two parts, but even then, I wasn't like overly impressed. But yeah, like there was nothing that was just like, oh yeah, this needed to be a movie. This needed to be the way that it is. But so yeah, it was fine. I do like Cynthia Erivo. I do prefer her to Adina, but that just might be recency bias. I guess we'll see how we feel next year. The Bear season 3, unpopular opinion, I love it. People criticize it because it was filler, quote unquote. And the thing is, they're right. It does not move the plot forward. It does not like create anything new. It really is just sitting with the characters that you've grown to love. At least I have from season 1 and 2. The thing that I definitely will give credence to is that we waited so long for season 3, and then like, oh wait, this was it. Like, again, bring back season 22 episode seasons, because this needed to be if we interstitial these episodes from season 3 into season 1 and 2, so like sprinkle them here and there, people wouldn't complain. People would love it. At least people like me. So yeah, I love it. Let's see. Lisa Frankenstein. This is 80s. I do love it. Where do I put it? I love it more than The Boys. Honestly, if I'm being honest, Boys season 3, 4 at the last. Lisa Frankenstein is 80s. It is Catherine Newton, who I find so endearingly awkward. Basically, she's like an 80s girl, an 80s like not like other girls girl who creates a Frankenstein boyfriend for herself, and like, yeah, it's so campy. It is so like if you do not like like dorky, like it's like Sam Raimi type stuff, like you're not gonna like this. But it's just so fun, like like uh, just like an axe just flying like that. It's written by the same writer as crap, what's her name? Diablo Cody, Jennifer's Body. That's what it is. And is directed by Zelda Williams, her directorial debut. Death Becomes Her. That's what I was trying to remember. If you don't like Death Becomes Her, then like yeah, you're not gonna like this. But if you do like it, you're gonna like this. I think she says so much as that being an inspiration, but even with this being made in like 2022, it feels like it was made in the 80s. Like the film style, like the way everything is. Like if you told me it was, if you do me a favor, show this to somebody and it's like, oh yeah, this is a movie from 1988, and see how they react and see if they'll believe it. Let's see, X-Men 97. This is I love this. I love superhero shit. I'm gonna put this right next to Superman. I love Superman more, but yeah, just a continuation. Just like it's X-Men. I'm also trying to like speed run a lot of these now. All right, let's do some creators. The Alt-Right Playbook, Changed My Brain Chemistry by Innuendo Studios. They overall like articulated a lot of things that, like, speaking with supporters of a certain candidate, like basically you're not gonna win, because they just do certain tactics that, yeah, I think it's required viewing. I'll link it in the description because especially as we go into the next 4 years, there are just some ways, like recognizing online trolls. Like, are they online trolls? How are they arguing? And how you should just not engage with them in certain ways. Rowan Ellis, I love her. They talk about, in some ways they do a lot of videos that I want to make, in terms of like how certain things like autism or mental health are depicted in media, but like she backs it up with like actual research, versus I just want to like analyze it, not with vibes, but like, you know, with like a different insight. But like easily, like I love her like queer baiting video. I love her OCD video. There's just a lot of good stuff. Basically, if you can think of a topic, she'll have it and then have like media examples of that topic. CJ the X, specifically their video on Jordan Peterson and style. I dress like a schlubby guy. Like, I jeans and a black shirt, cool, I'm set. But I've been wanting to like add more style, to add some more drip to my wardrobe, and this video really helped me out of just like how to go about that, but also in a way that like makes me think about society, makes me think about how far we've come and how far we've regressed in getting your own personal liberation. We've given up like societal standards. We've given up like what social like how dress, like there are goth conservatives, and if you were confused about how that happens, CJ the X talks about that. So yeah, Changed My Brain Chemistry, Frankly Built, 3D printer, 3D printer YouTuber. That's one of my hobbies. Outside of here, I've like printed like devil fruits. Like, this is the gum fruit. That's the flame fruit. As I got into One Piece, it's a cool hobby. I like it. I like making little trinkets. I like making like little D&D figures. And anytime I have a question or a thought about how to 3D print something, or how the technology changes, I go to his channel. Like, easily fine for me. Let's see, Page Melt, love them. They also this specific thumbnail is from their YouTube video on how work is depicted in media, and concurrent with Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. I think that's like the big inspiration for their video. Yeah, like it's just good. Like, they have insights that I never would have thought of, and I get angry when I'm like, how did you do that? Like, and meanwhile they're like Good Will Hunting. They're like, do you know how fucking easy this is for me? And meanwhile I'm like there trying to like pick up the scraps from their ivory tower. I truly do love them and their content. Princess Weeks, also similar vein. They've collaborated with FD, and why is FD here? They've collaborated with FD. Similar thing where they have, I think Princess Weeks, she actually uses, she, her pronouns. History and race and the intersection of race and media. Like she has a good video on why vampires are always Confederates. And she also likes like good like anime and also around my age. So like we have a lot of the same like experiences of growing up in certain things. Let's see. I love this. Oh wait, no, last content creator, just like her. Oh no, two more. Lexi Nova, booktuber. As I'm getting more into books and reading, she has not had a bad take. Even despite me being almost 10 years older than her, like she has consistent takes. That either I know that if I read something at her recommendation, I'm either gonna love it, or if I hear her recommendation based on what she says, I'm either gonna be like, that's not for me. I'm not even gonna bother reading it. So yeah, she also has like very funny, punchy editing style and a good sense of humor. But this year, I discovered Adam Savage's YouTube channel. I love it. I grew up with Mythbusters. Mythbusters is easily one of the reasons I grew up to study engineering, and watching his YouTube channel really revitalized a passion for like tinkering and trying and doing new things. And like if at first you don't succeed, then try and try again. Like if you love Mythbusters, you're gonna love this. He also tells fun stories about Mythbusters. Specific videos that changed my brain. Jenny Nicholson's 4-hour deep dive on the Star Wars hotel at Disney. I guess I'm technically a Disney adult because I enjoy Marvel and Star Wars, but I've never, before this year, I never stayed at the hotels. I never like thought about the hotels or anything like that. But like she's like a theme park influencer, and I guess like a theme park YouTuber really. That's like her real passion. And also it's Jenny Nicholson, so like the one time a year or twice a year that she posts a video, I am sad. Like I cancel plans, like, hey, sorry, I can't do this. Like I'll watch anything. It's 4 hours, but it's like 4 hours of in-depth real research. And she also comes at it with a love for theme parks and a love for like hotels and hotel experiences. So easily one of the best videos. It went viral. One of the things she talks about is how nobody calls it Galaxy's Edge. They call it like Star Wars Land, and how like Disney is very like protective. Like, no, you have to call it by that. And then articles coming out were like, I worked at Disney's Galaxy's Edge, and it's like, you just proved their point. You just outed yourself like as a fucking plant. Butch Hartman. If you haven't heard the name Butch Hartman, you probably have seen Fairly Odd Parents. You've seen Danny Phantom. You've seen like that animation style. I think Kim Possible had some of that animation style, but like basically like if you ever like wonder like what happened to Danny Phantom, why was it like that? What happened to Fairly Odd Parents? Why is it like that? A Legacy Destroyed by Pride by Saber Sparks. That honestly, like I love like revisiting things from like my childhood and like seeing like what all happened, because I remember season 3 of Danny's Phantom being a little weird, and apparently it's because of like Butch Hartman is like got really into Christianity at some point and realized like, oh no, they're not ghosts, they're whatever is like okay with my Christianity religion. But yeah, let's see. And finally, the last YouTube video is an interview at Study Hall between Brennan Lee Mulligan and Hank Green. It like I love Brennan as a DM. I do love his like philosophy of the bad guy is the church and capitalism. And it was an interesting insight to see him as a person, see him like how he interacts with the world. I also do love that he has like a metaphor of like you can be rich and you can still fuck up, and you can be poor and you can succeed on your first try. But overall, like most people land somewhere in between where like he has a merry-go-round metaphor where like when an opportunity comes, the more rich you are, the more privileges you have, the more chances you'll have to like grab at that opportunity and use it to make something of yourself. Versus like the more marginalized you are, the less chances you have to grab it. But in both cases, you can still grab it. Like it's still there. Like the chance doesn't not exist, and it's better in the context of what they're talking about here. But yeah, it's such a good thing. I think about it often. Inside Out 2, it was fine. It's a Pixar sequel. It's the same thing as if you saw the first Inside Out, you saw this one. House MD, I love it. This is my comfort brain rot show. This is a comfort procedural. It's Sherlock Holmes and medicine, and it gave me such a superiority complex that I did not earn as a young youth, although I could argue that I earned it now. Agatha All Along, for the most, I almost wanted to put it like this is fine, this is good, but there were just a couple episodes in here that were like amazing. Like there's like a Memento episode that is easily the best episode that the MCU has created, just period. And so yeah, like it was fun. I love Catherine Hahn. The Heartstopper boy with an American accent was funny. One of my friends who I haven't spoken to in a long time, she like texted me that like, hey, I want to watch Agatha All Along because the Italian lady who's like a fortune teller. No, she's like a Broadway person, and like she lived with like Aubrey Plaza. Also, Aubrey Plaza is in this, so like, yeah, she's hot. All people throughout the whole marketing, people discovered that Aubrey Plaza is Puerto Rican, so that was fun. Yeah, it's just a fun time. Like I love it. Like, oh, the MCU can be good. I remember that now. Kendrick GNX album. This is good. Yeah, I have nothing. I disagree with the statements that like this is Kendrick phoning it in. That this is him not really trying this. The only reason I dislike that statement is because I feel like it takes away from what like To Pimp a Butterfly was. I think that was something special, and to say that GNX is light work compared to Pimp a Butterfly, I feel like it's not the whole picture. But yeah, it's good. I do agree that like, okay, he's performing in the Super Bowl halftime show, so I think that this was for that, so he could have some new music to perform. Okay, let's do these. So I actually had about 2 weeks off in between Christmas and New Year's, or between that, and I used that time to really rest. I didn't have a job where I don't have to commute 3 hours anymore, and that really burnt me out. So I spent a lot of the Christmas break just watching Hallmark movies with my girlfriend, and looking at these, I honestly could not tell you. Santa Tell Me, I think this one's a girl. She has like Santa sends her a letter. Oh wait, that's Santa Tell Me, that one song. Oh wait, by Ariana Grande. But basically this girl gets a letter from Santa and just like, oh yeah, one of your boyfriends is gonna be New Year's or Christmas or whatever. I don't remember. 3 wise men and a baby, 3 dudes find a baby, and the joke is that men can't take care of babies. It's whatever. Hot Frosty. This one actually, there were so many implications for Hot Frosty. So it's just like it's the Frosty story. She puts a scarf on a statue of a guy, and then that person becomes real. But like I thought like a plot line was gonna be that like, oh, if he takes off the scarf, then he's not real anymore, or he dies. And like, no, that was not a thing. Like he multiple times was without the scarf. Has the fetch girl from Mean Girls. They're like doing, I guess she got too old for Hallmark, and so they started doing like a thing there. But like, so one of the plot points of Hot Frosty is that if he watches something on TV, then he can learn it. But then like he just does it. Like he watches like a cable show on how to fix a roof, and then the next day he's fixing a roof. I'm like, wait, what how else does this go? Like if he watches a YouTube video, can he do that? If can we what's the magic limit on this like magic scarf? If you put a YouTube video on a cable broadcast network, then can he still learn it? Or does it have to be a made for cable thing? Can he learn the stock market? Can he learn surgery? Is it like mental? Like he mentally knows how to do it, but then like no, because fixing a roof has like physical. So like suddenly he has the muscle memory of how to like fix a roof. What's the limit of this? And how like that there's so many implications that were more fun to think about than the actual movie. I actually want to put this one on This Is Fine because nah, actually that's a lie. No, I'm just gonna put this at the top of that. Yeah, the top of like not for me. Where'd it go? There we go. I'm just gonna put it at the top of not for me. And Christmas Run, Jingle Bell Run. I'm upset they didn't do like one Run Run Rudolph thing. They just didn't. I don't remember anything else about this movie. I think this is the one where I fell asleep. There was another one about a soccer player in London or Notting Hill. I couldn't find it. I don't really care to. It's gonna end up, but not for me. Again, technically, they all should be in This Is Fine, but this one, Holiday Touchdown. Holiday Touchdown is the explicitly one that's like quote unquote inspired by Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And even like Travis Kelce's mom like makes a cameo in the story. She's like a pie owner or something. No, not Ed Reed. Andy Reid. Yeah. Andy Reid makes a cameo where I don't even think he was actually like, I think they actually pulled some like footage from an actual game. I don't think he's like actually talking to the actors there. Like a really shoehorned like Andy Reid, Kansas City coach thing where they like in the middle of a game, they're like, "Hey coach, we need something for a movie." And he's like, "What is this?" And like calls him a slur, and then they just record it and then they edit out the slur. The thing about Hallmark movies is okay, all these movies like they all technically should be in This Is Fine because they all are supposed to follow a formula. They're all supposed to follow like a basic premise, and they're supposed to have happy endings, and there's no depth. Like that's the point of Hallmark. There is no depth. What you see is what you get. The thing that I hate about Holiday Touchdown is what reminds me of like I can't remember who wrote it and I can't find it, but somebody said of the movie Man of Steel, it's so good, I'm mad that it's not great. And this is so mediocre that I'm mad that it's not bad because it introduces so many interesting ideas. Holiday Touchdown asks the question, but basically the premise is a girl has like a family the girl has like a family tradition where like somebody wears the hat, a magic hat that Santa gave them on Christmas, and then the Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl every year that they do, or they make it to the Super Bowl. That's an important distinction. And but like, and then the guy, it's instead of being like a Christmas Grinch, he is like a football Grinch. And just like doesn't care. He's like, I don't get it. Why are you guys wearing a hat? Whatever. Despite him working for the team. And the thing about it is that it explores ideas of American football where, and this is my own personal thing, like American football is probably the last cultural like touchstone that a lot of people have with each other. A sports bar or a tailgate is the only time really in the United States where you will see a doctor breaking bread with a plumber, a carpenter, like a lawyer doing shots with a plumber. I don't know if I said plumber already, but the thing is this, and I do love American football for that reason, sports for that reason. Holiday Touchdown comes so close to saying something about that. It comes so close to saying that like, oh, you have this magic hat, but I have my magic socks. I have my special apple pie. Like it's like these things, like everyone who is a fan of something, There's Always This Year talks about this too. Maybe if I didn't read like There's Always This Year, like I wouldn't feel anything about Holiday Touchdown. But like everyone has like a special connection to their sports team. Everyone has their special connection to the the team that they love in sport, that they will live and die by, that they move holidays and like weddings around. You're not special if you think that. But this comes so close to like acknowledging the character comes so close to acknowledging that. Like so close to saying like you have more in common with like the people, the fans of the thing, than you do like the coaches or like the owners of the team. And then it just doesn't. It just like leaves it. It like mentions it. It comes like, pardon the football pun, it gets to the 1 yard line of making a point and then drops it. And yeah, I almost want to put it as like, I feel like it belongs at either the top of Change My Brain or the bottom of Not For Me. And I think I'm just going to put it at the bottom of Not For Me. Kind of funny. I've been, at this point, they celebrated their 10-year anniversary 2 days ago on Friday. I delayed recording this video to watch the Kind of Funny stream. It's something special. Like, I normally don't care about like video game like development, video game stories, video game news, but I love the people. I started listening to them in grad school, and they've been a constant in my life. Yeah, I love Kind of Funny so much. Like video game news coverages, let's plays. It's a fun time. Like the people are funny. The hardest I've laughed live, following along, putting them on while I drive, and again making it feel like I have friends. It's a good time. I don't know, somewhere here, I'm gonna put them along with like my actual friends. And then finally, last one, Deadpool and Wolverine. I did not want to like this movie going in. I honestly am kind of sick of the Deadpool shtick. I don't like Ryan Reynolds when he's not Deadpool, and even then, I am getting kind of sick of Disney Marvel's like self-aware. Like, it's not product placement. It's not cringe. If we're making fun of it, we can do whatever you want as long as you acknowledge that it's cringe or it's bad. And I'm honestly embarrassed at how much I laughed. I laughed within the first 15 minutes. This was so much. It was so much fun. I wanted to be a self-serious asshole who doesn't like fun, but I couldn't help it. This was. I still am sick of Deadpool. I'm still sick of MCU fans. I'm still sick of Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, I think that is it. I think that is the best of 2024, and I finished it. Holy shit, this is a long ass video. Hopefully editing will fix it, but yeah, this will probably be the thumbnail for this video, in which case, thank you so much. In which case, thank you so much for watching. I have a lot of plans. I really want to like bring this channel back to life in 2024, 2025. Yeah, stick around for the live. Appreciate it. Good night and good luck.